So I want to talk to you about the latest exploits of the resistance in the Gaza war. The first is from the Iraqi resistance. They have carried out two rather remarkable feats. The first, a few hours ago, they struck an oil refinery in Haifa. So this is again in occupied Palestine. Haifa is all the way over here, as you can see on the map. And I don't know where exactly they struck it from. Usually you'll find the Iraqi resistance about here, but they move between the borders, obviously, and strike all the American bases. So in any case, it's hundreds of kilometers. So very, very significant precision payloads. And we also have, so this is one of the three things they've done. They also struck the Golan Heights. The Golan Heights are over here in Syria. Okay, so you see these dotted lines over here. This is in Syria, and it's illegally occupied by the Israelis since 1967. So the Iraqis struck, again, from here to there. I'm just going to put a ruler to give you an estimate of the distance. So that's about 300 kilometers. We're talking about hundreds of kilometers away, not right at the doorstep of the Golan Heights, obviously. It's actually the Israelis who use the Golan Heights, which they occupy, as a staging ground for bombing Damascus whenever they like. So we have major events, the oil refinery in Haifa being bombed, then the Golan Heights, and then the third major event from the Iraqis. This is from just 2 hours ago, breaking news. They've hit Eliat. Again, this is al-Rashrash originally. There are many places in Palestine that you'll hear. For example, Erez, the border crossing, is actually Beit Hanun. So the Israelis have changed the names because they're colonizers. So this is the same thing. Eliat is actually al-Rashrash. And again, this is one of the major ports. It used to be a major port. Now it's blockaded, not doing much porting. So this is down here in the Red Sea. There it is, right? So again, I'm going to clear these. We can, again, just do a measurement, a random one, and you'll see it's hundreds of kilometers firing from Iraq into Eliat, 500 kilometers. Why am I showing you this? I'm showing you this because I want you to understand how significant it is with a map in front of your eyes. And also, I love maps. But it also gives you a mental and visual representation of how significant it is that the Israelis and Americans are being hit not just by Hamas, but by all of these resistance groups. Objectively speaking, okay, from a purely unbiased, neutral point of view, this is significant because 10, 20 years ago, this was unheard of. It was unheard of that, the resistance in Iraq could fire precision, with ultimate precision, at an Israeli port in the Red Sea. This is, no, maybe in the off chance, but now it's almost a daily occurrence. And then to have not just that, but also the Yemenis doing the same thing, unheard of 10, 20 years ago. Now this is a daily occurrence. It shows you how bogged down they are. When we talk about the real battlefield, they're actually losing. The Americans and Israelis are getting spanked, and they don't even talk about it because of how embarrassing it is. So that's, again, three things: Golan Heights, Eliat, and Haifa. The Iraqi resistance. I'm going to show you on the map with three different lines so we can clearly visualize this, okay? We've got one from here to Haifa, all right? And then we've got another one to the Golan Heights, and then another one to Eliat. Ultimate precision, the ultimate accomplishment. And Hezbollah at the same time have been giving the Israelis a very, very hard time. They've downed an Israeli drone just a few hours ago. Let me read this to you. This is the Hermes 900, which is a model of unmanned aerial vehicles that the Israelis employ. Take a look at the video. They've taken the time to actually film it for us. I've just muted it for the copyright, okay? It's just music, don't worry. Yeah, so now you can see the drone going down. Suqut is the fall. You can see it's clearly on fire. Smoke plumes bellowing out of it. And there it is. Game over. Did you hear about this by chance in the Western media? Have you ever heard about any of these events? Forget the one from today. Have you ever heard of Hezbollah downing an Israeli drone on the BBC? Just once. Have you heard of the Iraqi resistance striking? Again, I gave you the ones yesterday, but the ones from today, I mean, this is in the same day. The Golan Heights, Haifa oil refinery, and Eliat. So you got Eliat being struck, by the way, figuratively, by the Yemeni resistance who've instituted a blockade, right? So it's being struck economically and physically by the Iraqis and the Lebanese. One day it's the Iraqis, tomorrow it's the Lebanese, right? It's just crazy. It's really crazy to see this because strategically speaking, objectively speaking, militarily speaking, this is unheard of. And again, this is not new today. This has been going on for months. But I'm just bringing the events of today by themselves, putting them before you, and by themselves they are remarkable. Never mind the fact that they've been going on for months. On the battlefield, again, I always tell you there are two battlefields in the Gaza war. One of the battlefields is the Israeli slaughter of civilians. Unimpeded, with no surface-to-air missiles, no defense, no ACAC, no flak, no nothing. The other battlefield, where it's between men, they get spanked. The Israelis get spanked in every regard. They don't have what it takes. They simply don't have what it takes to contend with the resistance. All the resistance factions, whether they are in Iraq, whether they are in Syria, whether they are in Lebanon or Palestine or Yemen, they don't have what it takes. And that's why they don't talk about it, because it's embarrassing. It's pathetic, an abysmal performance. Same thing with the Americans. The Americans are powerless. They can't do anything. The Yemeni blockade is there. It's there. The Americans, they put on a show with fireworks and drop bombs, but they can't do anything. They have failed to achieve a single objective. The Israelis, the same thing. They have failed to achieve an objective. Military success is measured by whether you can achieve objectives, results. Nothing else counts. Propaganda doesn't count. Propaganda doesn't count. Having CIA operatives or military generals go on television and talk about how amazing America is not military victory. That's rubbish. That's garbage. That's talk. You measure success by results. Is the Eliat port down? Is it functioning? Has it been stopped from functioning? The answer is yes. It's down and it's been stopped. It's been impeded. It has been completely neutralized. It does not receive traffic or cargo at all. It cannot. Are the Israelis losing goods, losing money? The answer is yes. A lot of it. Are the Iraqis firing at Eliat unimpeded? Yes, and they're striking it. These things are not being shot down. If they were shot down, they tell you about it. Are the Lebanese hitting the Israeli military outposts, their electronic surveillance, radar, dishes, cameras, all of this clutter that they've lined the occupied border with. Yes, the answer is yes. The Israelis are, figuratively speaking, blind and deaf in the north. They are powerless against Hezbollah. Is the Iraqi resistance, are the Iraqi resistance hitting the oil refinery, hitting the airport, hitting the port? So they've hit not just Haifa, but Ben Gurion, which is the main airport in quote-unquote Israel. The answer is yes. These are successes. It's not whether it has nothing to do whether you or I actually support these actions or not. It doesn't matter. We're speaking purely objectively out of neutrality. These are successes. They count as successes. They count equally as failures by the Israelis and the Americans. And that is why they have to be underscored, because the mainstream media talk to you like your children. They treat you with disdain, and they harbor nothing but contempt towards you. They treat you like children. They talk to you with propaganda, with buzzwords, with garbage, with nice, glossy graphics and lower thirds. I don't care about that. I'll stream from a potato. I'm just going to tell you the raw truth. I'm going to show you evidence of it too. I'm going to back it up with documents, with maps, with videos. That's how you do it. This is the front that no one talks about. The multiple fronts, the multifaceted war. Gaza is not in Gaza. The Gaza war is in Iraq. It's in Yemen. It's in Syria. It's in Iran. It's in Lebanon. That's what they don't tell you. They want to look tough bombing civilians. They're not tough. They're scared. You have no idea, man. Even in 2006, they were scared out of their minds of these ghosts, the Hezbollah ghosts that are going to pop out of the ground when they're sleeping. What Hamas is doing exceeds that, multiplies that tenfold. Leagues, light years ahead. I mean, if we look at the bottom line, obviously Hezbollah are stronger just because they are not under siege. They've been able to train and equip themselves better because they're not under siege. That's not to take away anything. Again, speaking purely objectively, with complete neutrality. It has nothing to do with whether Hamas are tougher or less tough than Hezbollah. I'm talking about the bottom line, what they can take on, what they can complete. There's an invasion in Gaza that is not comparable to Lebanon at this point in time. Remember, Lebanon used to be occupied by the Israelis. It still is, as a matter of fact, but to a lesser extent. These are the things they're not going to tell you about. This is a great time to plug the show. That's why you should donate. I'm kidding. But seriously, these are the things you never hear about. You never hear about. By the way, the shooting down of this drone was the 11th operation for the day. For this day, the 11th operation. These guys are busy. They're not playing around. I swear to you, they're not playing around. No wonder the Israelis have evacuated. What's the number now? I don't know. They say officially it's about 80,000. I think it's double. Easily. Israeli media and US media are not known for their honesty, are they? They're not particularly valued for their integrity. So I think it's fair to assume the number is double. As a matter of fact, they tried to play the same game with the number of Israelis who fled. They act as if it's just 50,000. It's actually 300. Those who have left. I'm not even talking about internally displaced. The point is that Hezbollah have scared the Israelis so much they've set up a buffer. This whole zone right here. When you look at, again, I'm going to clear the measurement. Ignore the measurement. Right here, when we talk about the border, this entire zone has been cleared. There's a giant buffer zone. No one on the Israeli side lives there anymore. They're not allowed to. The army have pulled them out, put them in buses, and taken them down in southern, quote-unquote, Israel to hotels, which costs a lot of money and manpower, by the way. Another loss incurred. It adds up. In war, everything adds up. Every cent. Every calorie. This is a war of attrition. And the resistance are in a position of power right now. They are, the Israelis and Americans will crumble if things continue this way on the battlefield. Remember, I'm talking about the second battlefield, not the one where the civilians are. I'm talking about a real battlefield between men, not people in jets picking on civilians and dropping bombs on their heads.